More of the MacVoices panel's most important hardware. This is MacVoices. This week's MacVoices is supported by Kolide. Kolide is an endpoint solution that uses the most powerful untapped resource in IT, end users. Learn more at kolide.com/MacVoices. Today's edition of MacVoices is supported by RocketMoney. Take full control of your subscriptions with RocketMoney at rocketmoney.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this MacVoices Live panel continues to talk about some of their most important hardware for the things that they do. Let's go back and let the panel do the talking. Eric, what do you got?
So many choices. And I've been bouncing around, but OWC, I have to say, what is it? The Envoy Pro Elektron? Oops. Get it closer. Can't get it to line up. Whatever. Anyway, tiny drive. I had an OWC drive before this. It was a little bit bigger, and I needed more space. Picked this one up, 2 terabytes. It's got all my installers on it, all my software on it, all my notes, and it goes back and forth with me every single day. Falls out of the car, comes back in my bag, falls into the snow, comes out. It just, it has survived everything. I'm very happy with it. In fact, it is so critical, I forget it's like something that's really critical to my everyday life. I almost didn't include it because it's just there all the time. I don't notice it almost. But if I ever didn't have it with me, I would be making a trip back home again. So there's that. Second thing is what is this? SD card reader, this little media thing. So I've had a bunch of them over time. This is the Hyperdrive media reader. They have it's designed to plug into the side of an iPad. However, they also include an adapter, so you can pull this piece off and then slide that piece on, and then you can plug it into a laptop. It also gives you extra buttons, play, pause, some video stuff. There's an HDMI port. I just use it for SD cards. I think, it's even got a regular USB on the front and audio jack. I don't use any of those. I just, but I had a lot of problems with SD card readers where I would use them and then I'd be off on a trip and they would stop reading cards. This has always worked. It works with the laptop, works with the iPad, whatever I plug it into, it has been very solid. And I haven't worried about, is it going to function or not? So,
Eric, is that USB-C or Lightning on the connector on it?
USB-C.
Okay.
Which is why it works with the laptop as well.
I have one of those and I forgot. I think I bought it in the Kickstarter, and I am going to be able to use that. I need to go dig it up because I just got a drone, so I haven't had a use for SD cards, but suddenly I see SD cards in my life.
Yes, we'll expect to see some footage from you
on here. You can have the camera be floating around while you're doing the show. So.
Yeah, there you go.
It's not an indoor.
Webb, how about you? What makes your list?
There are some. Couple things. I've been very pleased with the Lutron Caseta electric switches that interface with HomeLink, but technically it's hardware, so I went with it. And also the when I'm not on that, the little Wemo plugs. I use those a lot too, and it's great. We use them here at the house. We have Christmas set up. It calculates when sunset is, turns on the outdoor lights, lights up the Christmas tree. There's some ivy behind me here that lights that up. 11 o'clock, it turns it off. So it's one of those little silly things, but it's become very important in our Christmas spirit here at the house. That being said, I was trying to convince my mother-in-law, the nerd that I am, and says, we have this Caseta thing and it works, and you just set it up on the phone and everything works just fine. And it turns on your Christmas lights and all that kind of stuff. So I finally convinced her that we should go ahead and put the Lutron Caseta plug in where she has her outdoor Christmas lights turn on. And I plug it in, I hook it up, I get everything set up, and I couldn't get the damn thing to work. It couldn't work. I could turn the lights off and on, but as far as automations, they weren't going. And if you remember, I posted in the Slack that when I went to 16.2 that I was having problems getting automations to work. Well, enough Google diving, I figured what the problem was there, but I couldn't get my mother-in-law's system to work. And I was feeling really, really bad. I said, Mom, you're going to love this. It's great. You don't even have to think about it, but it never did work. Until Christmas Day, when I finally says, I'm going to figure this out. The problem was that her Apple TV, which was the hub, was not communicating with the HomeLink side. So after I got that figured out, and 3 or 4 reboots later and a system update and so on and so forth, finally got it going. On Christmas Day, when we're getting ready to turn everything off and pull everything down, got her done. So hopefully it'll all work again next year. So anyway, Lutron Caseta switches and Wemo plugs are part of my Christmas spirit. So I've been really pleased with that. So there's my story.
Very good. Very good. How did you stumble across that particular brand? I mean, not that it's not a well-known brand, but so often I think brands like Eve and some of the others get a little more publicity. Why did you go with that particular brand?
Wemo's a Belkin product. I've had very good luck with Belkin products, so I kind of went with that. And then Lutron, just well known in the household electric business. So
Sparky mentions it a lot.
Yeah, but it does. The Lutron, it does require its own little hub, if you will. So I have that. So I have 2 homes. I got this one that I'm in right now, and then I have another one in the city. So I use that system a lot, especially for turning the lights off and on. Makes it look like I'm there when I'm not there, because I'm here. And like I said, here we have the main home automation system is this Control 4 system that I told you about earlier, which we talked about. Is it sophisticated? I find it to be a tremendous pain in the you know what, but it's very proprietary. If I want to make any changes, I got to get the dealer to come out here and program it. I don't have only the dealers have access to the orchestration program, as they call it, to make changes to it. So anyway. Like I said, that's my story. It's Wemo because of Belkin, and Lutron, the Caseta because it's Lutron, and they're very well established. So I do have a wish. I wish someone, and maybe this is out there and I just don't know about it. I wish that there's some way that I could do a proximity sensor with my iPhone. There's a communication program that interfaces with our telephone system. And I wish there was a way that if I walked into my office and I have my phone on and Bluetooth's going on, that it would fire up this communications program. And when I walk away, it would log me off, a proximity type program. I wish I had that. I don't know if anybody's heard of anything like that or not, but sure wish I had that.
I wonder if you could set up NFT tags that you could tap when you come in and out to attach to shortcuts.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. I'll think about that. I don't want to think about it, but
I know.
I got it.
Webb,
I
when
don't
you
know
say
if what you're saying is possible or not. You basically want a general, like, fire off a shortcut when you enter or leave a particular location.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's doable.
Yeah, I understand.
Webb, you say you need to fire up that phone system. I mean, define fire up.
It's just an application on the Mac, and when I'm within the area, it'll open that app, and if I walk out of my office, it'll log me out.
I wonder if there's a way to do it with if this then that. If you set up a geofence location,
yeah.
I mean, it might be a little bit broader dimensionally than you would that might be ideal. In other words, instead of walking into, say, your office, it might be when you walk into your house. But
yeah, same thing. It's there are similar things. Like on HomeKit, you can have things that when I walk in the door, it turns on different lights and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of like that, but I needed to fire up an app. So, and it does things like it controls my voicemail and auto dialing and all that other kinds of stuff. So,
Cletus in the chat room says sensors in the door frame.
Well, like I said, I already got a sensor in the Mac that's sitting on the desk.
Yeah.
Okay, and I would think that when I log in and using Bluetooth, it knows I'm there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then when I walk away from it, it knows that I'm not there. But you're right; it would always be pinging that Bluetooth signal. Is he there? 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 And that could kill the battery in the process. So maybe there's a bad thought. It's kind of like when I get in the car. How does the car know that I'm in there and tie into the Bluetooth?
Right. So, folks, anybody out there, either in the chat room now or later, if you have an idea, let us know, and we'll pass it on to Webb, or contact him directly, obviously on Twitter, and let him know what your thoughts are. Maybe there's something out there we would all be interested in.
What about you?
Well, before I get to me, I want to include the chat room. Brian in the chat room says, let's see, I lost it. The Logitech Combo Touch iPad Air keyboard case. Able to quickly turn my iPad Air from a consumption device to a productivity device. Interesting. Ben Rathig gives, an affirmation of that as well. And then also Brian says his AirPods Pro. Taking calls, listening to podcasts on walks, joining a Zoom meeting between work and home, etc. So, yeah, definitely good picks. Let's see. I thought there was somebody else that said something, but if there is, I'm missing it. Sorry about that. Mine, David kind of stole one of mine with the Thunderbolt dock, just because, again, sort of my measure is, like Eric was saying with his, just what do I kind of forget that's there? And that Thunderbolt dock is not really obvious to me every time I sit down to my Mac, but it's there, and I've got a ridiculous amount of stuff connected to it. And so I'd be constantly swapping things in and out if I didn't have that. And I think I might go with Brian on the AirPods, whether Pro or regular. It seems like, for better or worse, I spend an awful lot of my day with one of the two in my ears for phone calls, for podcasts, for whatever. Or even if I have music on externally, at least one AirPod is in at least one ear in case the phone rings, so I don't have to reach for anything. I can just reach up and tap it and answer. So those would probably be two of mine. I know there are more, and I could spend a lot of time here. Because if I started talking about what I do with MacVoices, then we're off into audio gear land and video gear land. So that really doesn't apply to everybody else. But yeah, there's so many great things out there. I guess Jim's is an input device in some sense. I expected to hear more things like what Jeff Gammon said, the Keychron keyboard. I expected some more input devices from you all. But
Anderson input device.
Yeah. I was thinking more manual, but yeah, you're right, Jim. It is. No question about it.
I thought about mentioning my Magic Keyboard, although I just decided not to mention anything by Apple, but I love my Magic Keyboard with Touch ID. And I have a Keychron and I don't like it. So go sue me.
Yeah. No, I think we've had a couple of these discussions, but people that like the Keychrons love the Keychrons. And people that don't.
And I thought I would love it and I wanted to love it. And when I actually got to using it, I was like, oh man, this is hard and it makes these loud noises. And I was disappointed. And I was like, no, it's not for me.
Does anybody here use a mechanical keyboard? Is that
me?
No? Okay. I don't either. So this Mac Voices is supported by RocketMoney. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions today at rocketmoney.com/MacVoices. I'm not a fan of New Year's resolutions. It's too easy to overlook them after a few days and never achieve that goal you were hoping for. That's what can happen with subscriptions. You use them for a little while, then forget about them, and they keep costing you money. That's why you need RocketMoney. RocketMoney, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills, all in one place. RocketMoney makes canceling subscriptions as easy as the click of a button. Simply find the subscription you don't want and press cancel, and RocketMoney will cancel it for you. No more long hold times with customer service or tedious emailing back and forth. Keep your money in your pocket. Over 3 million people have used RocketMoney, saving the average person up to $720 a year. Stop throwing your money away. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/MacVoices. That's rocketmoney.com/MacVoices. rocketmoney.com/MacVoices. Thanks to RocketMoney for supporting this week's Mac Voices. This week's Mac Voices is brought to you by Kolide. Kolide is a fleet visibility solution for Mac, Windows, and Linux that can help you securely scale your business. The challenge with endpoint security has always been that it's difficult to scale. And when remote work took over, the challenge got exponentially harder. With remote work continuing to be widespread, the challenge remains. You need visibility into your fleet of devices in order to meet security goals and reduce service desk tickets. But how do you get that visibility when different parts of your company run on Mac, Windows, and Linux? You get Kolide. Kolide is an endpoint security solution that gives IT teams a single dashboard for all devices, regardless of their operating system. Kolide gives you real-time access to your fleet's data and can do things that traditional MDMs can't. And instead of installing intrusive agents or locking down devices, Kolide takes a user-focused approach that communicates security recommendations to your employees directly on Slack. You can answer every question you have about your fleet without intruding on your workforce. Visit kolide.com/MacVoices to find out how. If you follow that link, they'll hook you up with a goodie bag just for activating a free trial. That's Kolide, KOLIDE.com/MacVoices. Kolide.com/MacVoices. Thanks to Kolide for supporting this week's Mac Voices. I'll ask one though. What are your pointing devices of choice? Do we have any? Which mouse is that, Jim?
That's a Space Gray Magic Mouse.
Oh, you have a Magic Mouse. David, you have what? Is that an MX Revolution?
These MX, what is this called? No, this is I'm an MX Master 3.
Okay.
There you go.
Is that with the USB-C or the micro USB connector, David?
USB-C.
Okay, I just got one of those too. I got the new Mac Studio for my office, and I never got used to the Magic Mouse, and I also have the touchpad, but I'm using that mouse almost exclusively on the computer, and I love it.
So, yeah, I've been loving it too.
But I also have it set up for multiple devices. So, the button on the bottom of it. So for my, for this laptop too, or also for my iPad. So.
Eric, did you hold up a Magic Mouse?
Yep.
Okay, that was.
It's even the old one.
Yeah, so the batteries.
Changing the batteries.
Wow.
For a while, I had a rechargeable insert, but those batteries finally went bad. And mostly I go with this because since I support a whole pile of users that are all using these, I try not to get anything that I get really comfortable and attached to, because then I have to go work with something else and support something that's different. So.
I used Logitech mice for like 15 years, and just a real simple one. I think it was the M305, and with a scroll wheel, and I loved it. But then it required that dongle. And when I went to a laptop that didn't have USB-A, that was really kind of a non-starter. So that's when I switched to the Magic Mouse. And it was difficult to get used to at first. It took me like 2 or 3 weeks, really. But, it's been like 5-6 years now, and I am very used to it, and I actually like it. And I always hear these people complaining about where the charge port is, and I'm like, I really don't care. I am not going to use a mouse with a wire. I'm old enough that I did use a mouse with a wire for, at least 10 years, and I will never use a mouse with a wire ever again, even for an hour while I'm charging it. And, you only have to charge it for an hour or two every 2 or 3 months. I don't care if it has to do that on its back. I have this other kind of neat little thing here, which I don't use very often, but when I'm doing like accounting, bookkeeping stuff, it's real handy. And it's Bluetooth. And believe it or not, it's from Microsoft.
Really?
I've seen this.
No.
And, it was pretty affordable. So I saw it, I think, on Amazon, and I'm like, why not? And it's actually, if you're doing a bunch of number crunching, it's great. So I have it handy. It's mostly turned off, but every now and then, every month or so, I'm, working on bills and stuff, and I fire it up, and it's great. I love it.
I actually use this mouse for work. This is an M590, and it actually is Bluetooth. But if you see this button here, you can actually program it to do 2 separate laptops. So if you want to hook up, which I do, I use a Mac and a PC. So I can have one of these mice and just push this button and it switches over. But the nice thing about it is it's small and it's Bluetooth.
When I started using the Magic Mouse, it appeared that Logitech, it was really hard to find Bluetooth mice that worked. And I had one that didn't work very well. And it's like 5 years, 6 years later.
Yeah.
But in 2015, most of them,
they weren't so good.
I couldn't find one. And, I wind up saying, all right, I'll pay $80 and get because everybody said that one worked perfectly, and it pretty much does. Because I really didn't want to use that. I wanted to stick with Logitech. I was used to it. But now I'm used to it.
Webb, you said you used one of the Logitechs. Is that your pointing device of choice?
Yeah. I got one at home and I got one at the office. So
no trackpad users. Wow.
I have a trackpad too, but I've just kind of been going back and forth. The mouse I've been happy with it.
Same here.
I'm sorry, Webb. I interrupted you.
No, just same here. I use the trackpad as well. What I haven't done is really explored Better Touch Tool, which comes on SetApp among other places. But it's supposed to be a real time saver, but I just haven't taken the time to really explore it. So I don't know if any of you else do.
Me either. I think that's kind of like a Stream Deck, that you get what you put into it.
Yeah, I use Better Touch Tool with Final Cut. I have several different commands, so that depending on where I tap on the trackpad and with how many fingers, it will execute certain commands.
Mhm.
And once you do that, then when BetterTouch Tool is not turned on and you try to use it, it's like, what's wrong with my trackpad? There's something missing here. So and Jim, that's a good analogy. It is sort of like the Stream Deck. You have to figure out those things that you do on a pretty consistent basis, and then program them in and do a little bit of, not training is the wrong word, but I guess learning, to remembering to do it with those. And after a few days, it just becomes second nature, and then you feel like you're missing a finger or something if it's not turned on. So, let's see. Oh, Frank Petrie. Yeah. Frank says to Kensington Trackball. Yeah, I was always a trackball fan until the touchpad came along. And I still have several Kensington Trackballs.
I can never get into those.
Oh, really?
I used one of those for a couple of years, and at least in the 90s. I liked it.
Yeah. The biggest problem with all the trackballs is the dirt got in the in the sensors and the rollers, and you'd have to clean it out.
Yep.
But other than that, those were great devices. Well, folks, we're headed toward the end of the show here, so I'm going to go around the room, let folks know where they can find you, and then we'll get out of here. So I'm going to flip it around again. And Webb, I'll let you tell us first where they can find you.
Thank you, Chuck. Again, I really enjoyed today's show. You can reach me at Twitter, Webb Bixby, WEBBIXBY, one word, or on Facebook, Webb Bixby, WEB space BIXBY.
Thank you, Webb. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Jim Rea, with or without headphones, where can we find you?
Yeah. Well, the best place is probably provue.com, PROVUE.com. And I claimed last week that you'd be able to find me at Winterfest at artisanalsoftwarefestival.com. Maybe it'll come true this week. I don't know if something's going on with the organizer of that. I think he's had an illness.
Oh.
So I saw Joe Kissel mentioned that, because I guess Take Control Books is also going to participate in this one. But I'm not sure when that's going to start, but you can get in early at provue.com/winterfest.html, Winterfest 2022. So there you go.
Okay. Thank you. Happy New Year. And I hope the Winterfest organizer doesn't have some of what's been going around here. I've been able to avoid it, but I have some friends who haven't, and it's nasty. No question. Mr. Eric Bolden, thank you so much for being here and dropping your OWC drive in the snow so we could find out how rugged
that's
it
a
is.
2 terabyte drive. I didn't realize those were so small. Hold it up again. I just want to, it's like hard drive porn.
It's just part of an iPhone.
Oh God.
Oops. So
That's NVMe, isn't it? Is that?
Yeah, it's probably the small
I think
one.
so.
Oh, that small, I would think it is. Yeah.
It's been impressive. I'm just happy.
Yeah.
And it's got kind of a little personality.
Yeah.
It's a hard drive, Eric. Calm down.
Yeah. Folks, if you're listening to this and not watching, Eric was petting his hard drive. I'm a little concerned.
It's been through a lot. It was really cold.
Yeah. Where can we find you, Eric?
On Mastodon, EA Bolden at mas.to.
Great. Thanks so much for being here. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
Last but absolutely not least, as always, Mr. David Ginsburg. David, Happy New Year to you. Where can we find you?
Happy New Year as well. Thanks for having me. You can find me at InTouchWithIOS, at InTouchWithIOS.com. I'm on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/InTouchWithIOS. Twitter, I'm still using that, DaveG65 and InTouchWithIOS, as well as on Mastodon at DaveG65. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Brian in the chat room says moving into After Dark territory. I assume he means with Eric petting his hard drive. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Hey, quick programming note here. We will not be here next Tuesday. David and I both will be at CES in Las Vegas, but we will be back the week after to talk about that and whatever else is happening in the Apple world with all of our friends here. I hope you out there, wherever you are, however many times you joined us this year, I hope you have a terrific new year and that you will join us more often in the coming year, because these Tuesday night sessions are always a lot of fun, a lot of good information. I love the fact that we don't all agree on everything, because that just makes the conversations even spicier. So with that, Happy New Year. I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. Thanks for watching.
Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.